Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. Speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. I'm going to repeat what I just said because I don't know if it was recording. There's a new version of FaceTime, and I'm not totally familiar with it. Welcome to my shiur. I'm Nathan Davidovich, speaking on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I'm speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. I want to talk a little bit about one of the Parshot of this week, which is Parsha Mattot. Mattot talks about a number of different things. We're getting close to the time when the children of Israel will be entering Eretz Yisrael, will be conquering the land and go into the land finally after 40 years. And we're going to talk about something that gives us pause to consider what our priorities in life are and whether we are focusing our attention on the priorities of life instead of those things that are really, it should be secondary to priorities. We know that the Torah is not a storybook. So when it repeats a story, when it says a story, it says a historical event, it is there to teach us a lesson. So in this particular Parsha of Mattot, we have a situation where the tribes of Reuven and Shimon go to Moshe and say, look, we really want to stay with land just outside of Israel in the Transjordan because we have livestock and this is really good grazing land. And then they say as follows. So the pasuk says, "Vayikshu elav vayomru." They came to Moshe and they said, "So nivneh, we will build sheep places to keep their sheep. The miknenu for their flocks. Po here. We'll build these here. We build kennels for our livestock. Orim l'tapenu, and then cities for our children." Well, first of all, Moshe thought they were not going to want to even lead the fight, come in with the fight to conquer Eretz Yisrael. So he was upset and said, you're talking about the same things that caused us to be 40 years in the desert, because with the incident of the Meraglim, of the spies, people didn't want to go into Eretz Yisrael, and they were punished. And you're saying the same thing? They said, no, we're not saying that. We are saying that we will go, in fact, we'll lead the fight into Eretz Yisrael. We'll help conquer the land. But then when that's done, then we want to be able to come here outside of the land of Israel, Transjordan, and build kennels for our livestock and cities for our children. So Moshe answers them as follows. He said, "Benu lachem orim letapchem." Go and build cities for your children. Ugedera letzonchem, and kennels for your flock. Now, Rashi points out something very interesting. First of all, he points out that when they are saying, let us build sheepfolds for our cattle and then cities for our children, what are they doing? They're showing that they have more regard for their property than they do for their children. And Moshe is turning it around and saying, you got your priorities wrong. Okay, you do what you said you'll do, and you can then go into the Transjordan and build cities for your children and then kennels for your livestock. Moshe is trying to point them in the right direction. He's trying to tell them, straighten out your priorities in life. Your priorities in life should not be your property. Your priorities in life should be your children. Rabbi Aaron Kotler says that the intention of the tribes could be viewed as commendable, because really what they were saying is, if we go into the land of Israel, we're going to have to really work hard. We won't be able to study as much Torah. But if we stay here in the Transjordan, where things are just already set up, everything is blooming, then we don't have to spend so much time farming, and we can spend more time doing Torah and mitzvot. So their intentions were good, but the Torah lets us know that we have to straighten our priorities first. It doesn't work to say, I'm going to do all these things for my wealth first, for my property first, and then I'll worry about mitzvot. The Torah doesn't want us to do that. And what Reb Kotler says, Ron Kotler says, is that they were putting the wealth that they would gain by living in Transjordan over the ability to do the mitzvos of Eretz Yisrael, to be able to do all the various mitzvahs incumbent upon the land of Israel, bringing first fruits, doing the Shtei Alechem on Shavuot, the various mitzvahs. And they were giving that up for wealth. Rabbi Avram Twersky points out that the way they phrase their request about having first pens for their livestock and then taking care of their children teaches us that there are people who actually give greater importance to their possessions than to their children. How is that possible? How can it be that a parent cares more about their work than their family and than their children? Rabbi Twersky relates a story of a psychiatrist who was sitting at the mealtime, and his little son asks him, he says, Dad, he says, how much do you charge for an hour with people that you counsel? And he says, I charge $150 an hour. So the son says to him, I've saved up $150. Can you please spend an hour with me? Our future is not in our wealth. We have to teach our children that they're our priority, that we can't interrupt our time with our children, with our family, by talking on cell phones, by doing everything except being concerned with their work. We have to have priorities straight. We have a priority to live in Eretz Yisrael, to be able to do mitzvahs. We have a priority to teach our children and to give them an example, because if they don't have an example to follow, what can you expect from them? We've heard the story many times of somebody whose Jewish child wants to marry a non-Jew, and the parents are shocked. I mean, how can this happen? How can my child marry a non-Jew? And they ask the question, well, have you observed Shabbos? Have you observed Kashrut? Have you observed the mitzvot? Have you ever told them about the importance of being a Jew? Well, no. Priorities. So my bracha to all of us, especially in this time now, we're all suffering from this dreadful disease. And we let anger get the best of us sometimes. We get despair, let despair get the best of us. No, we have to have our priorities correct. Our priorities should be our children, our families. Those young people who are out demonstrating, while it's good to be able to protest and exercise your First Amendment rights, they are not putting their older parents and perhaps grandparents on the priority list. They're endangering them. A bracha to all of us is, Let's always put priority into our lives. Thank you for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat.